ladies and gentlemen. It is another week and another episode of For the Love of Wrestling, the Flow Show, brought to you by none other than us three, the most handsomest podcast hosts on the planet. It'd be Kwency Jones, go third. Second would be Young Bach, and first, of course, would be Brian Andrew, because he's getting all the ladies. Everyone's looking for him right now. They're trying to move him into a new housing facility. They're trying to get him job opportunity. This guy is he's a wanted man. He's getting pulled in every which way. But we're lucky enough to have him for this week. What's going on, gentlemen?
I wish all that was true.
Oh, come on, man! You got to keep up
hard.
kayfabe.
Yeah, it is hard to get you down for a 45-minute podcast once a week, right? It must be going great if it's that tough.
We got to nail this down. You have
consistent sex now. It's a big time in your life, right?
I watched about 20 minutes of Fight for the Fallen or whatever it's called, so I'm ready for this.
You didn't miss much. Don't worry about it.
Well, you know, it's funny because there wasn't like a whole lot of wrestling this week. Like even on NXT, there was like 5 matches.
Yeah.
You know?
Isn't it crazy that we always talk about NXT and AEW, but we never talk about Raw, SmackDown, and those are supposed to be the big brands, you know?
They're supposed to be, they're supposed to be the flagship shows, as they say. But that's kind of indicative of what is catching our attention right now, right? I mean,
I think Raw's been doing pretty good.
I was gonna say, like, granted,
once
like
they
Raw,
got rid of that Heyman loser, you know.
I feel like Raw does feel different, but in a kind of a good way. It's not as
awesome, man.
You know what I mean? It hasn't been as formulaic as it's been in the past.
Yeah.
And I think them having to work and put on what they call the quote unquote longest reigning episodical, all that yada yada yada. You know, they had to put on a show for the first time with no fans. I think the only other time they did that was at Halftime Heat, like back in the day.
Yeah, Halftime Heat. Shout out to Halftime Heat, man.
You know what I mean?
But let's talk about what's really important, all right? This is the 9-year anniversary.
Oh yeah.
The greatest wrestling match of all
I thought we were gonna bring up Newsom.
CM Punk. Listen, me and Newsom, we got some things. You know, I threw a mansion party last week.
Yeah, how was that?
Yeah, you should have.
It was dude. It was hot, man. About 100 people pulled up. Halfway through, I got a little tipsy. I was throwing people in the pool. I may or may not have dropped a woman when I was trying to pick her up. So.
Is that why there's an increase in COVID cases in LA County? Or?
No, they say there's an increase in the suburbs of Los Angeles, but not Tampa, Down the Valley, not LA. Orange County's really spiking, so have fun out there.
I can say this because I worked in the area. That's because it's just there's just a huge case of FOMO going on within.
Hey, FOMO's real, man.
But it's
FOMO's
you know why? It's because these are people that put down like deposits already on vacation homes and freaking family vacations and jet skis and shit, and they're scared they're not going to be able to use their shit for one summer out of the entire rest of their life.
Hey,
every morning I wake up.
I guess if I have a jet ski, I'd be mad too, right? I'm talking shit.
If there was,
I'm good. Okay.
If there was a storyline where like Gavin Newsom was Vince McMahon or something like that, dude, I would be The Rock holding this title, man. I am all Gavin.
Yeah. You know, it's fun. I could see it's like, and then does that make Baca like, is he Dean Ambrose with the gas mask on, just trying to get his
inoculations?
I'm
Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm the greatest of all time. But like I was saying, true. 9 years ago today, the greatest wrestling match of all time, CM Punk, John Cena, my boy Cena got screwed, which nobody really talked about that part of the ending. But it was a great match. 9 years today. Well, he tried to do the right thing, correct? Vince McMahon walks down the ramp and he jumps out and says, "I'm not going to win this way." And then, you know, he puts a little forearm to homeboy, jumps back in the ring, and CM Punk takes advantage of the situation, which I understand. You take advantage of the situation, but nobody talks about how my boy Cena, the fellow Patriot, got screwed.
Did he get screwed, or did Vince screw Cena? Because that doesn't seem like
I'm not
Cena
saying who screwed him. I'm not saying Punk screwed him. I'm saying he got screwed.
I think Cena's just not very aware of his surroundings, and if he's one of the best of all time, he should have known.
He is quite the clunky character, isn't he?
Yeah.
Sometimes he is a clunky guy. But that's a great match, man. See, you don't know what's happening. CM Punk jumps in the crowd. He kisses goodbye. Vince McMahon, he jumps. And then they had the Money in the Bank come down, too, and he takes care of that.
It's still so iconic because of the fact that it's different, because Vince wouldn't, like, if you would have asked me if someone came from the future and told me that's how that match ended, and then they told me, I bet you wouldn't think this and that, I wouldn't, because how many times has Vince allowed himself to look like, you know, the butt end of a joke? If it's not him that's like making himself the joke, but I mean, like, this is his business now. This is like
I don't think you give Vince enough credit. Vince
No. But listen, in a very specific, like my thing is this: he could have done the same thing with Bret Hart, right? But he didn't. So I'm saying in this specific situation with the guy with a championship who's red hot, under no contract or under paperwork from your company, he's been here before. No one would. I'm just saying, me in particular, I would have never guessed that he would have allowed Punk to walk away that night with the championship to make it look like he's, the art imitating reality, all that stuff. Everything you want to say.
The match was cool, but like what made the match?
The match was cool.
What was the build up?
The match was a 5-star match.
Well, hold on. Was the build up? And
the build up very much.
And the crowd.
Yeah.
And
the crowd was hot. Yeah.
So, like, to be honest, like, in terms of main roster matches, yeah, it was okay. There's some clunky moments, but it was alright.
Okay.
But like, the overall story.
It was a 5-star match, and everybody says whatever Meltzer says goes, but now it's like, it's alright.
The overall story was good.
I'm even willing to say that their match that they had on Raw may have been a little bit better than that match.
You guys have to cut against.
Bro, they had a pile driver on. He did a pile driver.
Yeah, I hear you, but that doesn't make it a great match. You are a pile driver. Wrestling is about storytelling. Wrestling is about storytelling. False finishes, and it had everything. The crowd was super hot. That entrance to CM Punk was amazing.
Of course.
I'm gonna put this in perspective for you though. If we're gonna say in the last decade or so, what is John Cena's best match? It would probably be the AJ Styles one at the Royal Rumble.
You're wrong. 100% you're wrong.
What? I think that one's in contention.
But it's not better than. But you can't tell me the AJ Styles match at Royal Rumble was amazing, but you can't tell me it's better than CM Punk's match.
The CM Punk story was good. I don't know if the match.
Well, I was gonna say that. I mean, they may.
But that goes into all of it.
But they may have even had a match that was better than the one that you're thinking about.
I disagree. I think you guys are wrong.
No, I'm saying like no. I'm saying like it could still be CM Punk and John Cena, but it could be a different match.
You guys are wrong.
Are we? Because I would even say that he had a great match against Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar in that triple threat.
That was actually good. Or the Bray Wyatt, John Cena.
Firefly Funhouse.
Oh no! You're talking about the WrestleMania. Was like WrestleMania 33.
There was a triple threat on a SmackDown. It was a SmackDown after when.
Wasn't it like it was? Yeah, no, I was there. It was. Wasn't
we were all there.
Yeah,
we were all there. Yeah,
freaking AJ Styles did the leg drop right through a table.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, it was Wyatt, Cena, and
I'm glad you said that, Brian, because I was looking at SmackDown the other night and I was like, "What happened to you?" Like when AJ Styles, and Ambrose, and all these guys. Remember, it was like. SmackDown they were like the show to watch when for a while when they did the brand split again. You had Shane and Daniel Bryan, you had Talking Smack, you had all this, and I'm like, dude, we used to get excited to watch SmackDown. You know what I mean?
It was the land of opportunity, right?
Dude, I don't get excited for that shit at all. Like it's I mean, and I think honestly. It's not because of the programming. It's because it's a victim of circumstance. By the time Friday comes around, I'm already exhausted from the week.
Dude,
when
I was a teenager and they moved it from Thursday to Friday, that's when I kind of stopped watching because nobody wants to stay home on a Friday and watch wrestling.
No, yeah, and the fact that they bet on people staying home in that demographic on a Friday, get out of here.
Well, I think some people in the demographic don't have a choice if they're going to stay home.
No. See, like, I didn't say all.
Mom!
Mom, can you drop me off? Meatloaf.
Backhouse coming on. Where my nachos at?
Mom, I need my beefaroni. Where's my
girlfriend? She doesn't know what she signed up for, fine, right? Once you guys move out, and that's what you can really show who you are, right? Take the mask off.
You already knows,
Let me ask you because now you uncovered a group within the demographic of wrestling fans here.
It's the group that frustrates me.
I was gonna say, what do you guys make of like? Because I asked Doc the same question, and we've talked about it a little bit on the show, but it's like, dude, like what the hell's up with wrestling fans now? Like, dude, we used to all get teased together. Now we're like teasing each other. Isn't that some like weird shit?
Thanks, Baka just ripped the visual.
Baka's like, nope, I don't even want to address this.
I don't know. I honestly do feel like ever since AEW came out, there's been a little bit of a. There's these kind of fans, and then there's these kind of fans.
What type of fans are we talking about right here?
Because let me put this in perspective. There used to be
toxic ones, dude.
There used to be indie fans who kind of liked NXT.
Yeah.
now NXT fans are considered WWE fans.
Yeah.
And then there's AEW.
That's a good way of looking at it, though, because even the way that I would watch, I didn't used to watch NXT like it was a WWE product.
Right.
But now, like I mean, I've said it to Doc, like it's lost the feel that it used to have. Granted, they have great competitive matches, but I don't know. There's just something about it that I don't get the same feel as I used to.
You got to give them credit. They have to revamp every 6 months. Guy gets on fire, they lose him. You got to create new superstars. You got to give them a chance, man.
Well,
I mean,
they've done it. They've done a good job for several years doing it. It's just when it was on a tape
and
schedule.
Because they might have a little couple months downtime where there's no fans, that's trying to figure stuff out. We're gonna be like, oh, what's going on in NXT? It's tough, man.
The way NXT used to operate too is like you would get the high of the takeover, and then you would have like a 2-week break. Like if you didn't want to watch wrestling for 2 weeks, you didn't have to because NXT wasn't putting anything on.
Yeah, that's true.
So now, and then you could kind of get back into it, and then it slowly builds into the next takeover, but now we're in this position where it's like, if you can only fit so much wrestling into your week, you're going to be like, well, I don't want to watch that Mia match. I'd rather watch Cody versus Sonny Kiss, and I'll just be cool with that. So it's especially now that it's competing with something. Like you could say it's not, but like I sometimes sit here and go, which one would I rather watch? And you're
right, because before it was running unopposed, it was just. It was there. It was a better alternative to what if you were sick of Raw or SmackDown, then you had the opportunity to I'm gonna tune into NXT. It's a little bit more hungrier down there in terms of the way they shoot things, and you get kind of like introduced to a fresh crop of new talent. But now it's like, it's nothing but counter programming, and it gets kind of annoying sometimes. It's like they focus more, and you get a sense of it. Not every show, not every week you get it, but in instances where they're going to reintroduce Great American Bash, and they haven't had one since 2010 or 2008.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we're not done. We know this is in direct competition to the person who created this concept.
But they did a great job, right? Because more people watched NXT that week. You could say the match was better, but they won on the feud.
I can say that the match, like the card did it. I wouldn't say that the Great American Bash itself is the reason why people tuned in, because it could have been just another NXT, which it felt like, and still had the same matches. And
I didn't even know it was the Great American Bash until I watched it.
And that's the thing, you know what I mean? Like I said, I kept calling it, this is NXT with cars in it. Like it's like it makes you think like they're doing a cross. Like I thought it was Great Balls of Fire Part 2. You know what I mean?
Well,
like
you guys are so tough on the league, man.
And all I gotta say is they only had one Great Balls of Fire, and I'm just mad that they haven't redone Brock versus Samoa Joe again. That was like
man, that's crazy.
That was a great match. But
you know what? Is he injured? Why is he not fighting?
Joe, I don't know what's up with Joe. Joe he had a concussion, and then he had gotten cleared, and then he was on set of some commercial. I don't. It's still unclear what commercial it was or what happened exactly, but he was on set of doing some commercial where he had I don't know if he hit his head on something or he tripped. I don't know. He hit his head basically. He had an injury that pretty much gave him another concussion. And I can only imagine what that made Vince feel like what the hell's wrong with this guy? You know what I mean?
But that's what they say all the time, right?
And that's the thing is sometimes that's all he needs. There's no context. It's just whatever he thinks, But he has been doing the commentary thing, which he's been cleared to go since WrestleMania season, but they just, it didn't make any sense to lump him into WrestleMania with nothing going, no story going, which I thought was a good call too. Have him come back maybe the Monday after, but they didn't have that either. But he's been doing good on commentary. I just don't know.
I think he's great in commentary, but I also think he's a better wrestler. He's a natural.
I feel like he's
a bad guy to intimidate.
But he's kind of getting the Taz treatment a little bit, isn't he?
I don't see the WWE. I don't even feel like as a fan I should get invested until he gives me at least 4 solid months of staying healthy.
No, true, because they got to protect their
business too, right? Sure. You gotta protect people. And then also, you don't want to invest money into somebody that just can't stay healthy. We give WWE all the time about it, but that's business, man.
It is true. It's
that's dollars and cents.
If they just spend money on a brand new quarterback, but then this fool is
can't get on the field.
Yeah, you know what I mean. He's doing dumb, he goes off roading when he's not at practice and no helmet, no nothing. Freaking breaks his arm or tears something in his shoulder. Yeah, they're not gonna freaking. Yeah, you gotta figure out what the hell you're doing, man. But you know what? You did bring up Cody and Sonny Kiss. I know you have some views on how they've been using or utilizing or underutilizing, however you want to get into it, the TNT Championship. What's going on in that head of yours, Brian?
So let me put this in perspective. He's supposed to be this fighting champion who is supposed to put the title up every week, right, as an open challenge.
Yeah.
My question is, and I don't know why they did or did not decide to do this. I'm not behind the scenes or whatever. But when they decided they were not going to do Brian Cage versus Mox on day 2, why didn't he just do another open challenge and have it be a surprise person and maybe make it Brian Cage or
that would have
something?
been good.
On
but then, somebody has to win. You're gonna bury Brian Cage.
Well, they've already buried him this week. So.
See, well, I want to ask you about that because
they're thinking of doing the right thing. But what's gonna happen? Brian Cage is gonna lose, which is no good. He can't lose his first major match.
Just make it a no
Cody's
contest.
not gonna top the belt. Oh, you have no contest, and then you guys are gonna get online and say this is ridiculous. No contest. This is BS. You can't win, dude.
I didn't mind the finish, but before we get there, if they would have done what you said, Brian, how would you have booked it then? I mean, because after coming off winning the poker chip the night before, or the week before, I guess, and then a week later, being a size opponent for Cody.
No, I meant,
how would you book that?
I meant like, so they didn't do Mox and Cage at Fyter Fest, right? Because Mox's COVID thing.
Yeah.
Day 2, after, because he defended the title against Jake Hager day 1.
Yeah.
Cody, technically, since this is the second week, even though they are recorded on the same day, we know that he shouldn't have had a match, right? He shouldn't have just had one. It doesn't matter against who it is. I say since Cage didn't get his title match because
so he would cash in for the TNT instead then.
Yeah, either the TNT or Taz says
you're not even saying cashing it in. You're just saying open challenge, and he
accepts.
Right?
And Taz says, my man.
How do you protect your two hottest guys?
Well, see, that's why I was trying to figure out. Are you? But you're saying he'd accept the open challenge, but he still has the chip, right?
I would say AEW has a track record right now of not necessarily protecting new talent, which is Brody Lee. Brody Lee, they haven't. Brody Lee.
Well, they did up until the Moxley thing. But I didn't know which way they could have gone with that, to be honest. So he won every match for that.
My thing is, you could have maybe moved up the Darby Allin thing to last week, and had Darby Allin.
Darby Allin's a major mishandle.
And then maybe Darby Allin cost Brian Cage the TNT Championship. And then, I don't know. I'm not saying this is the best thing to do. I'm just annoyed that they didn't have it defended when you knew you weren't getting an AEW Championship match, and you just decided to do a tag team match instead. Like, why don't you just have the TNT Championship defended?
Holla.
It doesn't matter against who it is, but I just threw Brian Cage out as a
move. Well,
what's funny? Let's say it's Brian Cage. How do you book that? What do you do? You're the man in charge.
That was my initial question. Is like, does he win it, or because if Cody beats him, then wouldn't that not be back to burying Brian Cage?
Well, what if Brian Cage wins the TNT Championship instead of getting the FTW Championship? And
would you give it to him that early?
I'd rather give it to him that early.
He's trying to build a championship.
I'd rather give the TNT Championship to him than the AEW Championship.
The thing is, I wouldn't even have booked Cage. I wouldn't have booked Cage to be in this match so early. A, B, if he was going to be in this match so early, I still wouldn't have booked him to win.
Right.
I didn't have a problem with the finish because that's the thing is, like, they had to protect him. They had to. I mean, they obviously don't want Moxley to drop the title yet, but they painted themselves into a corner with Cage.
I feel like it was a very cluttered ending because, in my opinion, it's like, okay, it sets up Taz and Brian Cage to have conflict, right?
Yeah.
But
I still think that's too early for them to have conflict.
But then they just darted Darby Allin into the storyline, so now Brian Cage is probably gonna not be.
Oh yeah, because it was kind of a long finish. Like, they had the match and then Darby came, but then like he just kept trying to like get back into the ring for like 2 straight minutes, right?
And it's just like, in my opinion, I'm like, the whole Brian Cage thing shouldn't have just been handled on a Dynamite. It shouldn't have been built to a Fyter Fest. If you were going to give him the match, if you were going to give him the chip,
that's true, because we've seen Jericho defended on Dynamites before, so it's not unheard of, and it would make people tune in.
Yeah,
it helps your viewership. Yeah.
And this is like, I guess my issue with the whole thing is, so we're doing Fight for the Fallen, which is considered another pay-per-view-esque show, and Cody's defending his title against Sonny Kiss. Like, I love Sonny Kiss; he's a dope wrestler, but at least put somebody against Cody that we think might take it.
Well, and that's my thing too. Is like, his Sonny's done nothing of any claim to fame. There's nothing that makes me get behind Sonny to believe that Sonny could take the title. You know, it's an obvious tune-up match to help Sonny look good. You know what I mean? But sometimes
isn't that what the champion? Isn't that what's supposed like just how Cena had the U.S. Championship, the Open Challenge? It was to make people look good.
But on Fight for the Fall,
obviously trying to do.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, but that's like if John Cena had a, and I'm again not taking anything away from Sonny, but this is just for example purposes. That's like him saying, "Oh, it's an open challenge at the Great American Bash," and of all people who come out, it's like freaking Curtis Axel or freaking I don't know, you know what I mean?
Brian
like
Young, something like that.
Like, Sonny Kiss hasn't even been on Dynamite more than maybe twice.
Yeah, I mean, Sonny Kiss was on Dynamite in at expense of helping to build the Joey Janela story with Archer, and that's it. And then even then they had, and then back to what you're saying as far as, I don't want to say that they've buried their new talent, but they built them up just to like, they had Lance Archer take I think, didn't Lance Archer take an L to Sonny Kiss on Dark, which is why this whole thing started?
I have no idea, but that's true.
Supposedly that's why this whole thing started.
Oh,
because and I was like, why would you have Sonny Kiss be the first person to beat?
And this is what I'm talking about, going back to the Brian Cage thing, is I'm now in this belief that who cares if you're a new talent, you're not going to be protected. So like it's now happened with Brian Cage. It's now happened, like we could
well, he was kind of protected. Again, I feel like the finish protected him, so he didn't have to tap out.
There's the Lance Archer loss. There's the Brody Lee loss. Now, I'm not saying they all looked bad in these situations, but like if we're going to the old philosophy of protecting your new talent, AEW hasn't done that.
No, you're true. Because like even Luchasaurus and Wardlow, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Luchasaurus barely beat Wardlow because he kicked out right out. Like he did the old the Hogan what's it called? The Hogan freaking Ultimate Warrior finish where he kicks out right after the 3 count. You know.
So
when Lucha took the L for him, he sold it because he got hit in the face with the diamond, and then he got like fucking F5. Then like, you know what I mean? So yeah, you're right. Like
I just feel like if Cody's gonna have an open challenge, you need to start like it could
have been someone like a Kip Sabian that wasn't on the card, but could have, you know. The thing is, it's like you probably wouldn't have thought he would have taken, but it's a more interesting matchup.
I think like
paper.
like for like random dynamites or whatever.
Or if it was Sean Spears, they could have made it Sean Spears answer the call. That would have been
right.
Yeah,
that's built in right there.
Or like,
remember when Sean Spears was supposed to be like this big old superstar? Once he left,
he is. What do you mean? He got the juice, bro.
Yeah,
I hear you. I hear what you're saying.
Watch. It's gonna be a new four horsemen, bro.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think
he's gonna be the same age as the other 4 horsemen in about 5 years. That's gonna work out great.
I don't know. Telly.
You know how old Sean Spears is?
He's probably in his mid-30s. He's like 38 or something, right?
No,
he's
talking
40.
about Ty. Yeah, Ty's like, if he's not in his early 40s, he's in his late 30s for sure.
He's 39 years old.
Yeah, I figured he was like 38, 39.
39 years old. He's gonna be 40 in a couple months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When does the push happen?
If I had to build the new horseman, it'd be FTR and either Cody and Sean Spears, or it'd be FTR, Sean Spears, and Hangman Page, who's already a horse. So
yeah, man, he's just a horse.
Well, I mean, he you know,
yeah,
what I mean?
halfway
like,
there.
That's his whole thing. Yeah, he's already halfway there. You know, so it's like, and you know what? Like every rendition of the Horseman had a bruiser, had like a big, you know what I mean? I think Adam Page would be a great fit for the Horseman, to be honest.
And I know I'm just like nitpicking with the TNT Championship thing, but I guess I'm just get to the point where I'm just saying, like, for random episodes, or even if he defended it on Dark, that's where you bring in Sonny Kiss. But like,
that would make more sense.
For Fight for the Fallen, which is one of your above average television shows, defending against someone who's a little bit more relevant, someone who's a little bit upper on the totem pole.
Well, they had an opportunity.
I have a question.
They could have brought somebody.
Why they do Fight for the Fallen so close to Fyter Fest?
They did last year. Last year when they first had them, I think they were 2 weeks apart.
Fyter Fest was like late
July
or late June, and then Fight for the Fallen was early July. So it was kind of.
You think they rushed it because they're trying to continue winning ratings or?
No. I think they 100% rushed it because they knew Moxley wasn't going to be able to defend the title on the pay-per-view, so they had to. I think they probably pushed up the Fight for the Fallen just so they can still have the pay-per-view feel for that fight when they knew Moxley was available, but they usually have it like 2 or 3 weeks in between anyway, so it wasn't that bad.
If we're putting this in perspective, though, All Out is now a month away?
It's usually at the end of August or the beginning.
It's supposed to be in
usually
September.
August 30th or September 1st. It's usually either or.
So,
but
So what do you guys think is the matches? If we had to predict some matches for All Out based on what's going on, which
Cody versus I could either see Cody. I'm sorry, not Cody. Kenny versus Hangman Page, or what I think we'll see is FTR and Hangman Page versus the Elite, the Bucks and Kenny. They've been teasing it. They've been teasing the imagery. If you notice, every time that they have an argument, look who's on each side. You know what I mean? If you look at who's on each side of the situation, you see those three, and then you see these three.
While they're still holding the tag titles?
I think they'll drop them soon, to be honest.
On TV?
Yeah. If not, they'll drop them at All Out, and then they go finally. I mean, it's been a long build, you know what I mean, as far as these guys, I think they've officially held the titles longer than SCU.
I loved the Elite versus Inner Circle match, but that totally derailed the whole Young Bucks and Elite beef, or the Young Bucks and Hangman beef. And if they were to do that match, they shouldn't just continue that going forward. But then the FTR showed up and all that.
Well, you remember they were supposed to have that Blood and Guts pay-per-view in New Jersey. That was supposed to be a big thing, which is pretty much War Games. They didn't get a chance to do that. I'm still wondering if they're going to wait till next year or try to pull the trigger on it late this year. But, yeah, there was a lot of lost opportunities that I was looking forward to between the Elite and Inner Circle. Because even right now, you don't even feel there's a whole lot of steam going behind that feud right now.
If anything,
what about does anyone else feel that Kenny Omega's being just completely wasted? This is one of the best wrestlers of all time. He's just like not getting the shine that he deserves.
You said he's being racist? Is what you said?
That's what I heard.
Wasted.
Oh,
you guys
wasted.
Yeah, talking about
well,
that's the thing.
He's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
The way I saw it was Hangman and Omega would have split at some point, lost the titles probably to the Young Bucks. Yeah. And then they would have had a one-on-one match, and then that match basically would have put the other one, probably Kenny Omega. But I think Hangman was building enough steam that he couldn't beat Kenny Omega, and they were going to go against Moxley at probably All Out.
I wouldn't mind seeing Hangman versus Moxley. I think that would be a good either that. I mean, because that's the thing. Like we've seen Ken Moxley already, just not for a title.
Do you believe when the fans are back into wrestling, it's going to be kind of like a restart mode, though?
I think so. Well, I mean, I don't think entirely no. And as for both sides, I think what it is, it's like kind of like that they're like the South Park, or let me think of another series. Like say like Game of Thrones is coming out with a movie, but you got to watch every episode leading up to it. You know what I mean? I think people that stay at home and binge watch, like what we're doing now, and then they actually get to go out and watch the big, you know what I mean, crescendo, so to speak, the build up. I think people will slowly but surely have to like remember certain things. But in terms of builds, I think that's kind of a given because there's no way they can even the way that they judge builds and how things are going is off the fans and interaction and feedback, and they don't have that right now. So. In a sense, they've been slowly building people, but they haven't. Like you said, they've been kind of building people up just so that they lose, and then like kind of, I don't know what they're like. It seems like they don't really have a whole lot of plan with a lot of these new guys yet. But I think that the live crowd would help.
Seems like it's disorganized over the AEW.
Well, I think what it is the
NXT's not much better.
It's like cooks in the kitchen.
What it is the fact that I think that they need to figure out what it is that the crowd likes about these people, and then they can further chip away and, put more, investment into what works with these things. So I think that's the only disadvantage they have right now is they're working with a lot of new people who they don't know which part of their personality is absolutely getting over and what's not. Whereas with NXT, they're working with the same kind of roster. And they already kind of know what their strengths are, so to speak. So, I mean,
I hate to be Debbie Downer, but I don't think fans in the crowd is going to happen for a long time.
I don't think so either. But
besides
what's
just the wrestlers,
interesting enough is I did get a friend of mine from New York. He's always hitting me up. He sent me an article about the fact that they're still waiting to figure out if WrestleMania is going to happen next year in Los Angeles. They really want it to still happen, but I think they won't get an answer until maybe September, is what they were saying. So, but even then, they were betting on SummerSlam in Boston. That's not happening.
Yeah.
I feel like we won't get people back in wrestling, if I could really be honest, maybe until next summer.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I hear most people saying the beginning of next year because you get a vaccine this fall. You let it.
But how many people are going to take it though? Like, not everyone's going to want to take it.
Let me ask: Do you take a vaccine if they say, your appliance guy Trump gets up there and says, "Hey, we found a vaccine. Here you guys go. It's released to the public." Do you guys go and take it?
I'll wait a month or two.
Yeah, I'm not going to be the first person.
You don't buy the PS5 when it comes out the first.
To be honest, I probably wouldn't at all. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really trust.
If you feel that way, imagine the millions of people that feel the same way. So what do you do?
Well, you force people to wear a mask, and then
Yeah, but not if you're gonna have wrestling matches, not if you're gonna have concerts, not if you're gonna do those type of things. You have to more than just wear a mask. You need a vaccine.
Well, the thing is, like, people are determining the public at this point, and like if people are not gonna go, like, I guess the issue you're bringing up is if people don't take the vaccine yet they still want to go to these things, and yet since there is a vaccine,
well, how do you have 20,000 people? How do you have 20,000 people and 75% of them don't want to take the vaccine? I'm not saying I'm going to take the vaccine because I'm not one that really trusts the government that much.
They shouldn't open up yet, and I think the studies will show that. And like our boy Gavin Newsom would probably be like, hey, people are not taking the vaccine, so we're still not opening up.
Yeah.
So
what I'm saying is, if we're just all going to stay home, if we stayed home for 2 months, and they said, hey, you guys are doing a great job. Longer than that, you guys are doing a great job, and then they open it up for a weekend, and then it goes crazy. It's nobody has an answer, and I don't want to turn this into a political episode. I just think it's a tough sell, and I don't see any.
What's wrestling without politics?
Like we're watching the CM Punk. We're watching the CM Punk. I was watching the CM Punk Cena match last night while I was falling to bed, and I don't think that's gonna happen for a long time. We have a crowd that hot because
I don't think we're gonna
come outside. People can't be together.
Even when we do finally allow the live audiences to come back, it's not going to be 20,000 of people. You know what I mean? It's not. I mean, even then, I think it'll be probably a quarter of what they're allowed to normally have.
They might even move if you're using the WWE for example.
But how do you do WrestleMania?
You'll probably still have fans in the Performance Center. Then they'll transition to Full Sail. And then I think they'll transition into maybe smaller venues across.
See, that's the thing. A lot of people keep forgetting that the PC is not Full Sail. Like, they keep thinking it's the same facility, and it's not.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought it was the same exact thing.
No, they're two different entities.
Am I getting kicked out of the podcast now?
Yeah.
Nah, you're good. You're good. Because you know what? We're not those kind of fans, man. We're not those kind of fans.
Yeah, there's a lot of fans. Like, it's a toxic time for wrestling, man.
Dude, like, it's you can't. Man. If you're an AEW fan, you can't say anything about WWE and vice versa.
In my opinion, wrestling right now is just I'll admit, like, there's very cool stuff happening, but they're very empty shows. Like, you might have like a decent opener, you might have a decent, and then you might have some stuff in between. But to be honest, like, they're very hollow shows. Like, if you don't have a hot main event, the show's just not worth watching. And if you don't have a hot angle, the show's just not worth watching. But one hot angle is not worth wasting 2 hours or 3 hours of your time.
Now, well, let me ask you this. How did you feel about, because you're talking about having a good main event, how did you feel about the Tegan Nox versus Io Shirai main event for NXT this week? Because I wasn't against the match. I just felt like the challenge was warranted too early.
Let me put this in perspective. In terms of that match, when it was announced, I already told myself I'm probably just gonna watch the highlights of it.
I was going through it as well, and it has nothing to do with like I love Io Shirai, Tegan Knox.
too.
I've been getting on board with her for a little bit, but I wasn't ready for her. Like as a fan, I couldn't get behind her, thinking that she was gonna win because I felt like it was just so early because she hasn't done anything. That her winning that 4-way was the first time she's done anything for herself. She's been entangled. Let me not use entangled. Let me hold on. She's been involved.
You guys gotta get this whole podcast canceled, man.
She's been involved in several other storylines with other people. She had the stuff with Dakota, but now it's like, I just wasn't. I couldn't believe that there was a chance or a glimmer of hope, as they say, that she was going to take it or an upset on EO just yet. Because again, I feel like she hasn't built enough steam on her own. But I did like the fact that we did see Dakota kind of stake her claim at the end. I honestly thought she should have won the Fatal 4-Way to begin with. But yeah, I don't know.
Kwency, I know it's a wrestling show. Black man to black man. Could you been Will Smith sitting there at that table taking that?
Dog, this is my thing.
The whole planet laughing at you.
Why can't I be a white guy? Like, I don't think I could.
So we got less than a minute. So I'm gonna give my brief. I'm gonna give you my brief answer on it. I had a homegirl that texted me about it. She's like, "Can you believe he made a statement?" I'm like, "Yeah, he has to." She's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Fresh Prince, a man of his position, of his level, people who hold him in that regard, and he's the last person along with the rest of the world to figure out that his wife had an affair on him. Yeah, you got to freaking say something. It can't he can't pull out a neutralizer and be like, yo, look into this. This didn't happen. Like, you know what I mean? I feel bad for Will. I feel.
Brian, what's your entanglement issues?
He needs to get back out on the road with Jazzy Jeff and get these hoes.
How do you feel about you? Are you on? Because here's the thing. I've been talking to some people. I've talked to women in particular because that's what I'm interested in. They say you don't know if she felt alone. You don't know what she was going through.
That's bullshit. That's like Steph Curry's wife. That's just like Steph Curry's wife, man.
That's crazy, dude. You justify this. And if it was the other way around, if it was Will Smith,
100%, he'd be
hooking up with a 23-year-old woman that was his daughter's friend, he would be canceled.
Taking pictures with a family. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. You had this woman around her kid taking pictures. If it was the other way around, he would have been crucified.